We are here today to talk some more about two-step word problems. And looking back through your assignment from yesterday, I noticed that a lot of you guys did really well with identifying what to do for the first step and identifying the clue word, but kind of struggled with understanding what to do with the second step and just how to find the answer. And some of you guys even struggled with kind of what the question was asking, which is totally okay. Yesterday was kind of, that pre-assessment just to see kind of where you guys would struggle at. And it's kind of all the areas that I expected. So don't worry if you feel like you didn't do well yesterday, because we are going to walk through some word problems today. Okay, so we're actually going to do 2 examples today, and then I'm going to do 2 more with you on Zoom tomorrow, or today, I guess, so that you guys can ask questions in the moment. Because a lot of you guys, even though you have questions or you don't understand something, you're not getting back on Zoom and asking those questions. So we're going to go through and do a couple examples tomorrow or today. Okay. So if we look at problem 1, it says that Mr. Abel has a gym class of 48 students. He divides them into 8 groups, and then he divides the groups into 2 teams. Okay, so how many students are on each team? I'm going to go through this and I'm going to solve it using my cubes strategy. And I know I've talked about that a lot, and I noticed that some of you guys aren't using that strategy, which is okay. But the reason I like the cube strategy is because it helps me identify what I'm going to work with. Okay, so the problem is that I've given you for these couple examples that we're going to do, giving you the exact number of numbers that we're going to use. But not every problem is going to be like that. And some problems you might see as we get into harder and harder problems might have numbers that have nothing to do with what we're solving for. So those numbers just help me figure out what numbers I'm going to use and what numbers I'm not going to use in my problem. Okay, so my first step is to circle my numbers. In this case, since I'm on a computer, I'm going to highlight them. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I'm not going to highlight 48 students, I'm just going to highlight the 48. Okay, and then I'm going to highlight that 8, because that's the next number that I see. And then I'm going to highlight this 2 that I see down here, even though it's spelled out. Okay, and so my next step, I've circled my keywords, and I now need to underline or highlight my question. And my question is, how many students are on each team? So that is what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so I'm going to go through now. I've done my C, circle my numbers, and I've done my U, which is underline my question. And I need to go through and box my keywords. Or in this case, I'm going to highlight them a different color. I see this keyword up here, divides, and then I see that keyword again down here, divides. So that tells me that I'm probably going to divide with this problem. So I'm going to type in that word divides. Okay, and again, you notice that I did not type in the question. I just typed in those key words to help me. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to start my problem off. And I know that I'm starting with 48 students. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 48. Okay, so then I need to figure out what operation I'm using. Am I using addition, multiplication, subtraction, or division, that's when my keywords are going to help me. I see that keyword divide, which tells me that I'm going to use division in my problem. And if you remember from a few videos ago, we talked about how there's really no good division symbol to type in. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and I'm going to type in this like backslash that you see down here. Okay, and so now I need to figure out what I need to divide 48 by. Okay, so I'm looking for that second number in my problem. Okay, he divides them into 8 groups. Okay, and you hear my dog. Okay, so I'm going to do 48 divided by 8. Okay, so 48 divided by 8. And if you know your multiplication facts, or even if you had to use a calculator, you know that 48 divided by 8 equals 6. Okay? So then I'm going to use that 6 and use that in my second problem. Okay? So I know that there are 6 students in each group. But then it's saying that he's dividing those groups up into 2 teams. Okay, so there are 6 students on each team, but how many teams, you have to figure out how many students are on each team. Okay, so we know that there are 6 students in each group. Okay, and we know that there are 8 groups. So then we have to go through and we have to figure out how many groups are on each team, right? And how many groups are on each team? Well, if we divide 8 by 2, so this is actually going to be kind of more of a 3-step problem, honestly. So if we divide our 8 groups and divide that one by 2, okay, I know that there's going to be 4 groups on each team. And I'm actually going to type that in here because I know that's going to come back and help me. So 4 groups in each team. I'm actually going to come up here and I'm going to type in that 6 too. That means there are 6 students in each group. Okay, I'm actually going to come down here and I'm going to type in my third step. Okay, so I now know that there are 4 groups on each team, but it's not asking me that. It wants to know how many students are on each team. Okay, so I'm going to take how many groups I know are on a team, which is 4, and I'm going to divide that up in, not divide, I'm going to multiply that by 6, because I know that there are 6 students in each group. Okay, times 6, and 4 times 6 equals 24. So there are 24 students on each team. Okay, and I'm actually going to type that in there. Okay, so that one was a little bit trickier because we had to actually add a third step in there. Most of these problems you will not have to add a third step. That one was just a weird one, and one that I really wanted to model for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to do problem 2 with you too. So it says that he has a collection of 25 Beyblades, and his mom gave him 10 more for his birthday, and then he divides them into 5 equal groups by color. He wants to know how many are in each group. Okay, so I'm going to go through, I'm going to follow my cube strategy. Okay, so I'm going to highlight my numbers. I got 25 and 10. Oh, Did not mean to do that. That's okay. And I have 10 and then 5. Okay. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight my question. And it wants to know how many are in each group. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight that. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight my keywords. And it's okay for you to have more than one keyword, especially when we get to these multi-step problems where you're going to have 2 or 3 or even 4 steps to find the answer, to have to do 4 different operations. And that's totally okay. Okay. So I'm going to go through and I see gives him 10 more. Tells me that I'm going to add. And then I see that word divide. That word divide is going to tell me that I'm then going to use division. Okay, don't really need to eliminate information. I kind of need all the sentences in here. So I'm ready to go through and I'm going to solve. But first, before I solve it, I'm going to go through and I'm going to type my keywords down here where it said clue words. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to solve my first step. So I know he started with 25 Beyblades, and I know that his mom gave him 10 more. Okay, so 25 plus 10 is 35. So he currently has 35 Beyblades. Okay, then I'm going to go through and I'm going to do my second problem. Okay, so I now know that he has 35 and I know that he's going to divide it into 5 equal groups. So I'm going to do 35 divided by 5. And 35 divided by 5, for those of you that don't know, is 7. So he has 7 Beyblades in each group. Okay, like I said, we're going to do some more examples together on Zoom today in class. But make sure that you guys are watching the video, okay? And make sure you also are submitting your work, okay? There are several of you that have not submitted anything, and I want to make sure I'm giving you credit for doing the work that I know you're doing, okay? Remember, I'm on Zoom the whole class period. If you need help or have questions, or even if you just want to stop in and say hi, I'll be there, guys.